at the top. All right, so after the penalty, it's 2nd and 15. Harburg has Barty, and then he does it. Closing quickly was Brian Addison, and he's got it. Kalen Moore took it away.
Day by day, we get better and better. We get better and better. So we can't beat beat. So we can't beat beat. Won't beat beat. Won't beat beat.
All right, hey everybody, welcome in to Day by Day. This is a tough one, and don't even know if I wanted to record this, but I told you, Andrew, I got some things I got to get off my chest. So
kind of hard to think of that day by day motto anymore.
It feels like day by day we're getting worse, not better. Today I felt like it was worse than other losses that we've had, to be honest. So
yeah.
Well, before we get into all that, wanted to let you know that you can find us on characterchronicles.com, of course, on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. If you are just as ticked off as we are, subscribe, hit like, please share a comment. I know you will, because you're probably ticked off. And that's what we're going to talk about. I really am. I have some stats to share. I actually have some incredible stats to share after that game. But basically, like, this is therapy, I think, for me. I think it is for you.
Yeah.
I just need a place to vent for a little bit before I go to bed. Tomorrow is my birthday. So
right.
I turn 40 tomorrow. And this is going to affect my birthday.
Right.
Oh, so man, what a tough man. The high of like sweeping Wisconsin on Friday night in volleyball to this. So I'm going to hold it in for a little bit. I want to know what you thought, what you're feeling.
So
as you're watching the game. What are you? Yeah. Lay it out.
You're saying you're ticked. I'm honestly probably worse. I'm kind of apathetic at this point.
That is worse.
Watching that happen, I just found myself just being like, here we go. Like, it's Nebraska football. Like, and a little bit just jaded that I invest so much time and energy and excitement and joy and all of that for a season. And then it hasn't gone the way we all had hoped to this point, but
no,
last week gave you hope. This week crushed those hopes. And so it's like, where do we go from here is kind of what I felt. I felt the offense needs a change the coordinator, change QB coach. I don't know, but Dylan has regressed, which is unfortunate. Maybe he's injured. He came alive a little bit in the game. He made some of those wow throws that we expect him to make. One of them, I think he even changed the play. I mean, like, that seems like the type of game he wants to play, but it feels like he's kind of hamstrung to run that kind of offense, I guess. I don't know. That just nothing seemed connected from one play to the next. And then obviously the defense, like, this was not your complimentary football that Matt Rhule. And I'm not. Yeah, Tony White needs to take responsibility for it. I think we're probably going to have Tony another year, maybe. I don't know, but to me, it just was a team mindset thing, and I'm going to put that on Rhule. I don't know what happened in the off week. I think you texted me. You're like, do they practice? Like,
what? Like, yeah.
I don't know. Those are just my jumbled thoughts. So yeah, there's a little bit of anger in there. There was a little bit of like, not surprised. A little bit of like, great, now we have a bye, and then am I even going to be excited to watch the next game? So,
and we're going to play a USC team. It's USC.
Yeah.
That's probably going to lose tonight. And how much do you want to bet that USC is going to play out of their freaking minds in 2 weeks? They're going to be 4-5 coming into that game. So they're 4-4 right now. They're going to look like the freaking St. Louis Rams greatest show on turf version of USC next week.
Yep. They got a QB
or
that can,
in 2 weeks.
all they got to do is pull this tape. Because our DB couldn't cover anything.
Yeah, I'm not apathetic in the sense that like I don't want to give up, right? And I know that's not what you're saying, but you do feel like you're at that point where you're like, man, it's been 3 coaches and it's the same stuff. And I know people are saying, oh, well, there's still Frost players. Like I saw that on Twitter. I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop saying they're not Frost players. They're Rhule's. He chose to keep them. He re-recruited them. And they've been hearing his process and his approach for more than 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
And my thought is this game is solely on Matt Rhule. Because what I texted you, what I tweeted out is, what do you do at practice all week long? Do you run, I know like you could talk big picture, but like when you get into the nitty gritties, like, do you run that stupid flat pass to Fedoni in practice? Does he house that in practice?
Right.
Do your DBs repeatedly get burnt in practice by our receivers who are never open? Now, again, they were open. There was a few times, and Dylan missed a few. He actually missed Fedoni on a seam on the pick 6. Fedoni was running down the field wide open. Probably wouldn't have been a touchdown with Fedoni's speed, but it would have been a big gain. There are times when we have like Satterfield calls a play, and if you execute it properly, it works. But when you come out that flat against a 2-5 team, and a win will take you to a bowl game that you haven't experienced, that none of the players on this team have experienced. No one showed up in the first half except Brian Buschini. And he's your punter.
Coming off a game where, Rhule reiterated it 3 times. He saw that winning culture, or, the championship culture in the locker room.
Yep. Championship mindset.
We had a big philosophical statement. You know what? I'm done. Philosophical statements, big picture statements, they don't work. They didn't work this week. You can say that crap in the off season, but I loved it last week, but this week, what did that bring you? I don't know. That got all the talk. And yes,
it did.
I love Rhule. I'm not tired of Rhule, but
I get it.
And then what? Your team, that did nothing to your team. So anyway,
I mean, this was the very first game that I started to have doubt that Matt Rhule is the guy. Here's what I think about
that's ingrained in our
right.
Mind. Yep.
And I know people are like, oh, it's only the 9th game of year 2. Well, the team that they played, I know UCLA has talent. I get that, but they've lost 5 games. They had 1-2. They're coming into your house. You need to win a bowl game. You have to have, at all costs, you have to have your team ready to play.
Yep.
The in-game guy, it is jumble. It's just a word vomit here. The in-game decision making, in-game clock management. Like, I have tried to spin things positively for weeks, and I can't. I can't keep doing that. So this was the first week that I severely started to doubt Matt Rhule, and here's why. I think he is a great communicator. He's the best communicator that we've had since Bob Devaney. I think he is a great big picture person. Mm-hmm. I love what he talks about in terms of the process and being the most dominant, physical, relentless team on the field. Win the turnover battle, right? Obviously, we had turnovers today, but that's been something they have fixed over the course of the year. Yeah. Being a defensive-minded football team, all that stuff. But then, like, when the chips are down, like, I think your entire offensive coaching staff needs to go. And I will say that publicly. The entire offensive coaching staff needs to be removed and replaced. Because you cannot keep winning football games where your offense puts up 20 points.
Yep.
We've averaged 20 points of the year, 20 points per game this year. And what do we score today? 20.
Yeah. With this to me, some years we're like, oh, we're clearly unmatched talent wise. We're not.
Yep.
Look at the talent we have this year. There's no way. Now maybe offensive line because we've had some injuries.
Yep.
But at receiver, at QB, at running back, at tight end, you're not overmatched. You're not lacking talent in those areas.
Yep.
And you're still putting up a pathetic offense like you did last year. And last year was completely different. But
because here's the thing, we know that Dylan is talented.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, he's regressed in the last 4 to 5 games.
Yep.
What is that? Is it something personal that he's going through, right? Is it something mental, psychological? Could be. First year of college. Like, I get all that. But in terms of football, we know it's not a talent issue.
Yep.
So there's only one other thing, and that's coaching.
Yep.
And so I know, like, people say, oh, you don't think they're coaching him during practice? Well, of course they are. But there are such thing as bad coaches where it doesn't translate to games. Or players don't get better; they get worse.
Yeah, they've got to put them in positions to be successful.
100%.
And I'll say awkward. Here's the awkward question. You jumped to the whole offense. I was going to bring up the awkward topic of what about Donovan Raiola?
Well, maybe I shouldn't. I mean, actually, the whole offensive staff outside of Donovan Raiola. I actually don't think the offensive line played poorly. I don't think they played that poorly today. Those sacks that Dylan took, they were on him. You either have to throw the ball away or you have to hit it on time to your receiver.
Yeah.
And there were times guys were open. People in the stadium were, tweeting at me like, no, there's guys open. He's just not throwing the ball. So are you afraid to throw a pick? Why are you being hesitant?
He panics and starts that little sideways drop back kind of run to run was right. And then all of a sudden turn around, he's trying to find yards, and it's over at that point. It's not Patrick Mahomes like by any means. So no. So I'll retract that. I would say Satterfield, McGuire, Barthel. I guess that's it. And then you have Raiola, Thomas. I mean, the jury's out on Thomas, right? Yeah.
So Raiola had a great first 3 to 4 games, and the last 4 to 5 not so great.
Yeah.
So why? Why is that? I'm not at practice. I don't know.
Competition level.
What are you seeing? Like, so I'm going to go back to my rant on Rhule. So here's what Matt Rhule said in the post game. He said, I wanted to get to the fourth quarter and make more plays than they did. We came close and just didn't do it. You're playing a team that's 2-5. Your goal, your game plan should be out of the gate to step on their throat and put the game away by halftime.
Yep.
What you do with an underdog to give them hope is play close.
Yep. Backups in by fourth quarter. That's your goal.
Does Nebraska think, does Matt Rhule really think, we just need to kind of play down to the level of our competition every week?
Feels like
that's insanity to me.
Yeah.
That's absolute insanity. And if that's the plan as a fan, I don't want that. I don't want any part of that.
Yep.
That should be your plan against Ohio State's and Alabama's and Georgia's and Penn State's. But when you're the favorite at home, you come out, you step on their throat, you put the game away by the middle of the third quarter. That's the goal.
Yep.
So that inspires zero confidence, I think, for fans. Not good. So it's like, I don't want to hear that. If that might be your plan, please don't tell us that.
Just play to give yourself a chance. That's kind of what it sounds like.
Basically what he's saying.
Forget.
So I think, so for me, this is a big picture conversation. This is a big picture game. We could get into the details. I do want to share a couple things, but for me, the offseason is going to tell me everything I need to know about Matt Rhule.
Yeah.
Are you going to make the changes that you need to make? Because if you're a great communicator and a great big picture person, you need to surround yourself with better coaches who like, especially better coordinators, or at least one on the offensive side, so that your vision can become reality. Because right now your vision is not becoming a reality. Your vision is becoming muddied. And now we don't know what the vision actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it was one thing. I know one of the narratives after the Indiana game was, well, it's only year 2 and this and that. But then we said, oh, but look at that coach across the way.
Yep.
In year 1, how'd that happen? So that I know that was a little bit of an overreaction, but now you've had it happen twice in a year where you have another new guy, in fact, a brand new head coach that some even questioned whether or not his credentials to be able to be the head coach there. And now he comes in to your house and has a more motivated team, has a team that plays harder, has a better game plan, and out coaches you.
Yep.
To me, that's an indictment, because year 2, you can really kind of call it year 3. We're at the end of year 2. We should be seeing a lot of progress at this point. We should be seeing a lot of hope for next year, and you're getting your tails handed to you by rookies.
Yep. And yet, and despite all that, they had a chance to win the game. So this is some crazy stuff. So that first quarter was probably the worst quarter of football I've ever seen Nebraska play. Indiana, the first quarter, second quarter, because of the points. In terms of total domination, right? 21 plays to 3 in favor of UCLA.
Crazy. Nebraska
had 2 yards. So despite that, here's how the game ended up. Nebraska had more first downs than UCLA, 21-17. Nebraska actually ended up having the edge in time of possession. 30 minutes and 46 seconds to 29 minutes and 14 seconds. Nebraska only had 2 penalties. UCLA only outgained Nebraska by 36 yards. UCLA had 358, Nebraska had 322. But it gets worse, Andrew. In the second half, UCLA only had 110 yards of offense. Nebraska had 251 yards of offense in the second half. And here's where I thought the game changed. Nebraska got into the red zone after a really long drive. I think it was over 6 minutes. And then Dillon took a sack at the 15-yard line on 4th down. And I thought that was the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Because if they would have scored, they only would have been down. If they would have gotten the extra point, they would have been down 6 with about 11 minutes to go. That's a lot of time to only be down 6. That was the moment, and they missed it. And so despite the atrocity that was the first quarter, they still had a chance, and they just missed it.
So what I hear there is you don't have you have a team that shows that they're competent at times, but doesn't know how to win. We've been talking about that. They don't know how.
Yep.
They can compete. They're competitive for the
Indiana. I feel like Indiana was an anomaly, but every other game, and this game included, they fight, they claw, they scrap. They're a scrappy bunch. But I mean, there's just some serious issues with, and again, I'm not at the game, so I don't see the whole field. There's some serious issues with what is going on with our route running. What is Dillon seeing? And I talk about the offense. I know that we're kind of not even talking about the defense. I actually thought the defense played well enough to win. Yeah. They had a horrible first half, but then you come out and the first play is a pick 6. What do you want the defense to do? And then I know they gave up that drive. I get that. But say Nebraska goes down, takes the lead, 14-13. That's a completely different game in the second half.
I think we win it at that point.
So we could talk about the defense, but the defense actually made adjustments. They pitched a shutout in the fourth quarter. Again, I don't think Tony White I don't think he's the best defensive coordinator in the country. Nothing. I mean, he's good. He's not quite great. And yes, he's not quite great, but he's good and he can make adjustments. And they did that today. The offense didn't. The offense looked like it has in every other game since Colorado. And I just don't know. Like, it's almost like there's too many problems. You can't just put your finger on one thing. And I don't think it's just Satterfield. There's a problem with Rhule. There's a problem with the wide receivers. But again, ultimately, it all goes back to the adults in the room. The coaches have to be the ones putting guys in the position to make plays. And they're not. They're just not.
Yeah, that talk with the defense. We don't talk about it much in my mind because it's almost like, well, okay, they're allowed to have a bad game here or there. Like the mark of a true
fair point.
Mark of a true team is, hey, one week it might be this side of the ball, the other week it might be that side, but they complement each other. They work for each other. They save each other in certain scenarios. Our defense, we can't expect that every game when the offense just doesn't show up.
I mean, and to the same point, like, okay, UCLA, they scored on their first 3 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did you do, defense? You made adjustments, and you at least put your offense in a position to get the ball back, to move the ball. You got them good field position.
Yep.
The offense goes down. They go. They give the ball back on downs on that 4th down I mentioned earlier, and then they stop UCLA promptly. UCLA punts the ball. Nebraska gets it around the 50, and that's when they went down to score to get it. To get it down to 7. So the defense was fighting like mad. I just don't understand. I go back to why do we have to start a game like that where nobody's ready to play?
Yep.
And I know that in the post game, players like, well, Ty Robinson, like, well, those guys showed up. We were all ready to play 60 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I know that you say that.
Yeah.
But none of you are ready to play.
You're never not going to say that. Yeah.
None of you are ready to play. UCLA was ready to play. My goodness.
That's what I think I texted you. I was like, another bottom feeder team celebrating at Memorial. Like, that's what almost just like turns the knife a little bit more when it's like, we've watched these teams come in and they're the underdog. They're, they come in and they're, we're the hunted in that situation. So,
yep. I mean, and don't look out now, but Iowa is scoring 40 points a game regularly.
Yeah. And Iowa's going to be disciplined and do what Iowa does.
So I have no more illusions. I don't think I'm going to pick Nebraska to win any more games. I just don't see it happening. Could they beat Wisconsin? Wisconsin's terrible, maybe. But like, you still have so much to play for.
Yeah.
Don't give up. But I'm really fearing that the fans have started to give up.
Yeah, and will the team believe it? I think you got guys on their way out the door that are seniors that are tired of this. You've got guys that I'm sure are questioning what the heck the future looks like. Yeah, can you keep the team? Can the team stay in it for 3 games?
I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, well, I don't know if this helped.
No.
Or if it helped me. Maybe it helped you a little bit, but
now we got to just wait 2 weeks. That's what's like another bye. 3 losses in a row. You're right into a bye week.
Right. It's like this team, it's like they cannot get out of their own way. They can't catch a break. They can't, but like good teams make their own breaks.
Yes. Yep.
UCLA turned the ball over at will this year, and Nebraska wasn't even close to getting a turnover, to getting a takeaway.
Right.
Good teams make their own breaks, and it just feels like, not just this year, not just last year, but again, what is this cycle of purgatory that we're in? For 8 seasons, we can't make our own breaks.
Yeah. Hey, James, we got to mention it's also another 1-score game. So
they lost another 1-score game. So like, what's that? Like 29 losses,
something like that.
Man. Okay. Well, we'll call it quits with that because I just need some time to stew.
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock, but it's really only 9 o'clock because we're going to change the hour. We're going to roll back an hour so we have more football to watch. I don't know if I want to watch more football.
Oh,
I'm just, oh my gosh. All right. Okay. You got anything else?
no, I don't. It's just going to be an interesting couple weeks. I don't know. I don't think we see any changes. Probably not
No.
till the off season,
No.
but it is a bye week, so you never know what
Let
could
me
happen.
ask you this, and then I'll let go. What if there were no changes after the season? Like staff changes.
For me personally, I'm still gonna. I feel like I'm gonna trust Rhule into year 3 because of his year 3 track record. But I guess it would all depend on what they do in the portal. I think they've got to, they're gonna have to retool receivers again and backs and all of that. So
yeah.
Oh.
Well, I'm not giving up, but I
Yep.
would be severely disappointed.
Oh yeah.
I'll never give up. We're not going to give up. We're Nebraskans. We're alums. I've been rooting for this team for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
So no, there's, and you see people say stupid stuff on Twitter, like I'm done with this team. Like, okay, that's fine. Go root for somebody else. The privilege of being a fan is that I will be here forever.
Yeah.
Our fans will be here forever. We will long outlast the coaches and the players. And fans make it what it is. And it is high time for this university to deliver a product on the football field. They're delivering it in other sports. But they need to deliver it on the football field.
Yep.
It's about time. And by the way, basketball starts on Monday. So at least there's that. Okay, well, we don't know what else to say. It is what it is. There's still 3 more chances to get that coveted 6th win, and you got to do it. You got to get it. You need the practices. You need the momentum. Fans deserve something to look forward to, and I don't want football to end at Thanksgiving. All right, well, we'll sign off there. Andrew, thanks for venting with me.
No problem.
Everybody else, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy your bye. We will try our best to enjoy ours, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.